Spraybandles.com is the place to get your graffiti supplies. Anything you need, spray paint, markers, mops, stickers, Youfo merch, everything, man. And I've got a discount code you can use, 15% off your entire order. The link's at the top of the comments below. Thank you TSV for sponsoring this video. A graffiti writer in the city of Tacoma had been noticing something unusual. The usual spots, the bridges, the retaining walls, and the overpasses where you used to be able to paint freely without interruption were starting to look way cleaner. Where there once had been graffiti, the walls were now bare, a fresh coat of paint covering everything. It was as though his work and the work of others was being systematically erased. At first it seemed like a coincidence, but he began hearing rumors around, and it turned out that the city had launched a new program, a high-tech solution to graffiti removal by using drones. At first he dismissed it as just another city gimmick, something that wouldn't have much of an impact. After all, would the city actually be able to pay for such high tech like this? The cost of a drone itself and then modifying it so it actually paints, so you can actually attach a paint hose to it so it sprays paint whilst flying in the air, sounds very expensive. But as a bit of time went on, he began to see the truth. The drone rumor wasn't just a passing fad. They weren't something they were just testing out that wasn't going to work. They were actually effective, very effective. The city had started using them to erase graffiti from hard to reach places, like bridges and overpasses. And I'm talking about spots where to remove the graffiti safely, they would have to close off the highway and get a cherry picker or a scissor lift just to get up there and paint over the graffiti. But of course, soon enough, it was clear that these machines were making quick work of what the graffiti writers spent so much time doing. By the end of 2024, the drones had deployed about 21 times to clean up graffiti off state highways, covering what the city believes to be about $22,000 worth of graffiti. By June 2025, officials hoped that they would have erased more than $60,000 worth of graffiti, all while the cost to clean up graffiti continues to rise. The road workers had spent more than $815,000 on graffiti removal in 2023 alone, which each case of graffiti costing about $3,000. The graffiti writer always just assumed that once he did graffiti on a really hard to reach surface, the graffiti would never actually be buffed. But now there was a new threat, one that was pretty impossible to ignore. But these graffiti removal programs were not just using drones to erase graffiti and buff graffiti. They were also being tested as a way to catch graffiti writers in the act. The authorities had started using detection systems that combined radars and cameras and artificial intelligence to pinpoint graffiti writers in real time. But of course, as a writer, the idea of being caught mid-tag, the rush of it all, was just a part of the thrill, the adrenaline, the risk. It was all a part of the game. But all of a sudden now the city had found a way to remove that thrill altogether. If a drone spots a graffiti writer when he's doing graffiti on a wall, it automatically alerts traffic management centers, which would then notify nearby state troopers. And this whole process was designed to catch graffiti writers in the act, right when they're putting their mark on the wall. These surveillance drones were very successful. During a month-long test between September and October 2024, the technology caught 2 out of 3 tagging incidences. Pretty much every time a graffiti writer made a move within the city, the system detected it, and it felt like there was no longer any place to hide. Now, this technology is no doubt impressive. The fact that technology is able to detect the graffiti writers in real time, sending alerts to law enforcement to respond before the graffiti writer could slip away into the shadows. The city is becoming more and more of a controlled environment more than ever, where of course graffiti is treated like a daytime robbery, a crime that the authorities are always pretty damn determined to stamp out. But like so many things in the modern world, it does come down to money. The cost of running these programs, these drones, the detection systems within these drones, and of course the law enforcement required to respond is substantial. The funding required to keep the operation going would mean asking for a bigger budget from the government. And while the officials were very impressed with the results of these drones, there is always going to be higher priorities for them to spend the budget on. So it just turns out it's just one of those things that someone was approved to give it a go, but this is going to cost way too much money. New technology will always have a way of pushing out the old ways. Graffiti writers couldn't help but feel that this could be the end of a golden era for graffiti. It could be the end of something bigger, the end of an era of freedom, of taking risks in the night. Of course, drones are a part of a much larger system, a system that's getting better at controlling the crowds. But in the long run, a lot of people doubt that this graffiti removal program with actual drones will become a permanent fixture in society, because after all, it's not that serious. I think generally the reason why they take graffiti so seriously is because they think all graffiti is gang related, and that's not simply the case. They have way other serious issues to be spending the budget on. Why would they waste it on some dudes doing graffiti? Though as we do wonder what the next 10 years will look like, would graffiti still be something worth doing, or would it fade away like many other quote-unquote crimes? Well, as long as there is graffiti writers out there, the spirit of graffiti will never die, but the city's effort to erase this illegal art form seems to be relentless. Sure, maybe in 10, 20, 30, 40 years, or a matter of time before these drones and detection systems become a standard thing, and a lot of the public walls will probably remain clean, sterile, devoid of marks that once gave the city its soul. But no matter what ends up happening in the future, graffiti will still exist, even if it's deep in the drains or in areas of the city that they don't have cameras. There will always be another wall, there will always be another night, and another chance to get up. The war between graffiti writers and the authorities will continue all over the world, even if technology makes it harder, and in the end, that just adds to the thrill of it. Let me know your opinion in the comment section below. Even if it's negative, positive, neutral, non-neutral, share your opinion. Karens, Darrens, Barons, Marins, everyone's welcome. I hiccuped about 50 times when I was recording this. Thank God for editing.